Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome to the g.r.i.n.d. Simon Arias here. Get ready, it's a new day. All right, today we're going to have a special guest on the g.r.i.n.d. We got my man, Joe Bamboo Wissman. And so Bamboo is owner of Gracie Tampa West. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, retired professional MMA fighter, and one of the best human beings I've ever met on this planet. And so I'll just start off and tell you how I met Bamboo years ago. I was going to visit my mom in Tampa, Florida. And this was right before I would move to Florida. So I spent some time where I lived in Florida for 6 months of the year, and I would live up north for the other 6 months a year. And right before that, I went to visit my mom. And my uncle, who back in the day was the state kickboxing champion in Florida, recommended Bamboo. So he said, here, I got a website for you. Check this guy out. I hear good things about him. And my uncle doesn't really give praise a ton easily, especially when it comes to martial arts. And so he recommended Bamboo, and I went in to meet Bamboo at his gym, and it looked like a real fighter's gym. There was no air condition. I remember seeing my man Cam in there, all tatted up head to toe, and I ended up meeting, one of my best friends in the world at that point. I just didn't know it. And what I was attracted to first was the humility and the personality of you, Bam. So I would go on to start training a little bit that week. And I ended up liking him so much as a person. Not only did he have the best no-gi jiu-jitsu that I had ever seen at that point, and I've been doing this for 9 years. This was about 6 years ago. So I was 3 years into jiu-jitsu, and I had never experienced somebody at that level before. And no disrespect to the coach that I had that started me in jiu-jitsu, and Rodrigo, who trained me all in the gi, and he's a beast and taught me a lot of the fundamentals and the basics and everything that I knew to start off in the game. But I had never had the opportunity to roll with somebody at Bamboo's level without the gi on before in my life. And it was to the point where I was getting good enough to start giving people with experience problems. And when I started to train with him, it made me feel like I was in my first week again. And what I was most attracted to outside of the jiu-jitsu game was the humility and the personality. And so what I would do is I moved on the beach, which with traffic would be an hour and a half drive sometimes. And I would train for 3 days a week when I was down there, and I would make the drive to and from just for the level of person that I became loyal to and committed to. That I was they say a church alive is worth the drive. And so I believe that, the person that I'm training with was worth the drive as well. And so from there, the relationship would grow. And so I think what I wanted to do, first of all, welcome Bamboo to the g.r.i.n.d. But I wanted to start off with your complete journey, which I know a little bit about it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about how you got introduced to jiu-jitsu, martial arts in general, and a little bit about, from where you started to where you're at right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Simon. Appreciate it, and thank you for all those kind words as well. So, my story, basically I was 20 years old, working in a call center, doing sales, and just a guy I hardly knew started talking about this new jiu-jitsu gym in the area, and I went to check it out. And I don't know why I had the impression that I was a beast at that time and could just beat anybody up, but I was very mistaken. And
most 22-year-olds are that
help.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. My perspective is quite different now. But, yeah, I got completely mauled by somebody half my size, and I was already pretty small. And I just I remember leaving that first session with just like kind of a befuddled attitude, not really sure if I should bother going back because they just all kind of beat me up. And I kind of decided that I just wanted to be like that. I wanted to get better, and I figured if, I could do it if I just kept showing up. And it was a rough first 6 months. I did not win a single match, a single session, a single drill for 6 months against anyone. Every single time I went in there, 4 times a week for 6 months, and everything, I lost. And I lost again and again and again. And it was kind of hard to see if I was even learning anything because I felt like every time I got better, my training partners got better. And I just could never catch them. And then one day, somebody new came in, big, giant firefighter guy, and I was able to catch him with a triangle. It was the first tap I ever got. Took 6 months, which is a really long time. Could never win. And,
I remember that process for myself, very similar. Played college football, and, I think I was 25, going on 26 years old. And, I was always a decent athlete, and, I had the same experience, coming in there and talking myself. I remember talking myself into going. It was hot out. I was in the gi, and I knew I was going to get my ass beat and get smothered and smashed for an hour. And I remember,
you just know you're not
that
going to
process.
win.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that process, man.
It was interesting because after that first 6 months, I changed. I started actually winning sometimes and getting better and better. And I went to a competition. I didn't win the competition my first time, but I had such a good time competing against people from another gym. It really elevated me. And then, fast forward to 2 years from then was about the time that Rob Kahn came down to Florida and opened up his school. And so it went from having one place to train in this whole side of Florida to 2. And just coincidentally at that time, the place I was training at moved locations much further away from me. And, at the time, I didn't really want to leave where I was at because I liked all those guys. And also they were the only people that I knew like that. They were my family for 2 years. And, I didn't really like the idea of going somewhere else. But, circumstances with my work, I had no choice. So I went in to check out the new gym and meet Rob the first time. And at that time, it had been about 2 years of training. I was pretty much the best blue belt at my gym. I mean, I was just only losing to purple belts and the black belt. And there weren't any other, there weren't any brown belts. There was only like 3 purple belts in Florida. Jiu-Jitsu was very new then. So I was doing good against everyone. And I remember going into Rob's, and it was like my first day all over again. I just got murdered by everybody.
This was Rob Kahn's gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually rolled Rob. I didn't even know who he was at the time because it was weird. Nobody was in a gi. Everyone was just wearing shorts and a shirt. And, I couldn't tell what level anyone was. And I thought I should be doing better, but they just destroyed me. And I kind of made a decision right then. I'm like, well, not only is this way more feasible to train here now, but there's no question that even if it wasn't, this is where I want to be. Because these guys are a whole another level. And his ability to teach was so much better than Eduardo, my first instructor. I mean, a lot of that is just a language barrier. Eduardo barely spoke English, it's Portuguese. So, those guys are not the best communicators.
So what two things that stick out to me so far on your journey is, I think the first process of showing up for 6 months, 4 days a week, and knowing you're probably going to get smashed until you got your first sign of success. And I think that mirrors life in business as well, that, there's times where you start off in life or in business or whatever, and you're looking at people that are good. And, I think it's cool for people that know you to hear your story because, you've become so good at what you do for training, for what have you been training now, 15 years?
Yeah, just about that. And people do talk to me a lot, and they act like I always was good.
Exactly.
People
it's
just
easy to
assume
see
that
where
I never
somebody's
lost.
at and think they're just came out of the womb a superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
cool to hear the process. What was it
Yeah.
about Rob that you think was you mentioned that it was you liked his teaching style. Anything you can remember
Well,
that stuck out other than the
oh,
English?
100%. Sure. Well, English was big, but so everybody was so serious at Eduardo's. It was like a very traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. And, it was, I assume the way it is in Brazil. You don't talk when teacher talks. No one learns from anyone but the coach. You're not allowed to ask questions until the end. So it was very constructed in a particular way. And I went to Rob's, and he was just like a regular guy, just relaxed. He didn't have a problem with you asking him a question. He would tell a joke here and there, and he explained things in a way that made sense. Not just like grab here, move here, push this way. He would explain the why. You're doing this because of this reaction. This is what you're looking for. And he just made so much more sense. It was very innovative. And he allowed me to really take off. I started coming in every single day, not just 4 days, any class I could possibly make it to. I went in there and I was getting wrecked. I was getting wrecked again for the next couple of years. It was about 4 years into my training, so 2 years there. And
So
again, I had
what
to
is
come,
it that what is it that you think, so you're talking about I'm 4 years in, I'm still getting wrecked. I made progress, started over, start getting wrecked again. What
yeah.
is it that you saw or were thinking that made you to continue going versus, the amount of dead bodies, that I'm sure that you've seen that have signed up for jiu-jitsu and never come back? You know what I mean? What is it
Well,
during that
it helps to
process?
keep in perspective. For me, it was thinking about myself. Like I knew at any point that if I were to meet myself from 6 months ago, that I would win, without a doubt.
So your
I knew
personal
I was
progress
better.
versus anything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, other people, see, it's funny because the more consistent you are, the more you can see other people are not consistent. When you're there every day, sometimes twice, you can tell who's there 2 times a week and who's there 4 times a week and who skips a week. When you're not there that often, you don't really see or know how much everyone else is putting in. But when you're there all the time, you see it, and it's easy to know. And I started to just get greedy and really just want an extra session, an extra hour, a couple more questions with Rob, one more roll. And first one on the mat, last one off the mat every day made a huge difference. Over the course of a couple of years, I passed everyone. I was a purple belt beating black belts. I was literally beating everyone except for Rob Kahn, Matt Arroyo, and this guy Travis.
And how
He was
how
another
long
black
were
belt.
you in at that point?
I want to say
5 or 6 years?
probably about 5 years.
Okay.
5 years, I think.
Yep.
I was pretty much. I remember.
It's cool how that
between 4 and
example
5
works
years
in everything. First in, last
Yeah.
out. Squeeze it out,
Yeah.
more information, going twice as much as everybody else usually ends up with twice the results.
Yeah, ask the questions. It was amazing to me how many times Rob would go, "We're going to do Q&A today. He has a question." Dead silent. Nobody had a single thing to ask. I would always have something to ask. I'm like, you guys are kidding me, right? You got this wealth of knowledge sitting in front of you. He can handle anyone here easily. You have nothing to ask him. It doesn't make any sense to me. And this was before YouTube. There weren't instructionals. The internet didn't really have much information on jiu-jitsu back then.
Right.
So literally the only source you could get it from was your coach. I mean, that's a little bit different now, which is even more of a reason why you should be able to excel if you want to put in the work, as you could do your own research and get all these great instructionals that people are putting out. There's so much information.
When did you transfer over into MMA? Were you already?
Oh,
I think you were a purple belt, right?
I was a purple belt, and that was another one. It was another time where the same thing happened. Rob said one day, "I think you should do an MMA fight." And I thought about it. I said, "Okay, find me somebody, and I'll try it." So he found me this guy, g.r.i.n.d, and I put the guy's picture out, and I had never even been in not much of a fight since I started training anyway. Like anything before that didn't even really count. So I was real nervous about it, and we started doing some stand-up in the gym. Rob had a little bit of a boxing background, kind of built like a real muscular hobbit.
Yeah,
But
white Mike Tyson built.
Yeah,
Rob.
yeah, big back.
Yeah.
And man, dude, you hit like a truck. And I remember I went into 3 times a week for this MMA session to do some sparring and get ready. And my goodness, I just got wrecked every single session again. Like I couldn't do jiu-jitsu while getting punched in the face. And I couldn't stop them from punching me in the face. They were just so much better at that. Like I hadn't spent any time on it. So I kept telling myself, when I get in this fight with this guy, I'm just going to get him on the ground. And to me, just saying that, like, get him on the ground was just my plan. I didn't actually know any wrestling. I didn't really even know how to do that necessarily. And I had figured out from practice that I was terrible at it. So I didn't feel very ready for this fight at all. And going up until the time I was fighting, I literally never won a single sparring session with any of my partners. Not one. So it was kind of hard to be confident that I was going to beat this guy. But the way I kept looking at it was, this guy isn't my training partners. My guys are way better than this guy. And they're telling me I'm ready, so I'm just going to trust the process and give it everything I have. And then, first fight happened, and I got super lucky. The guy wanted to grapple with me more than strike with me, and he tried to get a hold of me right away. As a result, he got triangled right away, and got the first win in the books without ever having really to throw a punch. And man, that was a weight off my shoulders. And I spent quite a bit more time after that in the punching bag until I learned basically a whole nother skill set.
So you go from this journey of, all right, I'm getting my ass beat for 6 months in the beginning, to, all right, now I'm one of the better ones, to starting over, I'm getting my ass beat again for a couple years, and now I'm one of the better ones, to now I'm starting to get my ass beat again, now sparring all over again. And so that process continues. And, I like pointing out things that mirror, this is one of the things that I loved about, the journey, for me that continues in jiu-jitsu, and outside of that is just the how much it parallels life. You just start out getting your ass beat, you get better. And the minute you think you're getting better, here comes something else. There's always something more to learn. There's always somebody a little bit better. But you realize if you just keep showing up, that no person, these people are just human beings that kept showing up, kept putting in the work, kept putting in the hours. And if you keep showing up, keep putting in the work, keep putting in the hours, you're going to get beat. But every time you transition to the next level, there's going to be some form of ass whooping, involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
100%.
I've been telling people that you got to get beat into this gang. When they start asking me about business success, I'm like, you got to get beat into this gang that when I know that you've made it to a certain level, you just took a bunch of ass whoopings. There's no way out of it. You have to be able to survive some beatdowns in business and in life in order to take it to the next level. So, it's already sticking out to me that transformation that we're in the midst of talking about is that at every transition, you start out getting your ass beat, you survive, and then level up and go to the next level. And then you continue to force yourself into not being comfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I'm nervous, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. For me, as I started getting better at striking and practicing more for MMA, I also was taking every jiu-jitsu class, and I was also starting to teach a little bit at Rob's request. So I had my own little spot. I taught a few times a week. I still went and trained with him as much as I could. And I had all this new pressure on me, I didn't want anyone to come in and roll with me and like not be impressed, or beat me in my own spot. So I put in as much effort as I possibly could. And I made sure that, I studied while they just showed up and talked all class. A lot of people waste a lot of time. They'll show up to the gym and not do anything for an hour. Basically, they spent 5 minutes doing anything productive. I never wanted that to be how I spent my time. And now, for a long time now, I've been teaching and I've been really focusing on developing other people. I get a lot of enjoyment out of helping other people become good, and kind of grow. And I know you do as well, actually. One of the things I was attracted to about you a lot was just the way you lift everybody around you up all the time without even making an effort to do so. You just can't help yourself. It's just like just walking positivity, and it's awesome to be around more people like that. So I try to be like that for my community and all the people that I meet. So
tell me about this. So you you transition into that. You start doing MMA. You're successful at that. You had a bunch of wins there. I know you've won a bunch of tournaments. You start training other fighters that had success. I remember, when I was down there going to the fights, it seemed like, you guys were 90% of the time winning everything, no matter where you were at. But
we had a huge team.
In your journey of transitioning into coaching and leading and mentoring others, is there some things that you could say stick out to you about people that you see that progress quickly or better on the journey versus, what things stick out about them and what things stick out about other people that don't?
Well, I would say that it was interesting because I knew a whole mix of different people. There were a lot of people that had a bunch of talent, and they started out so much further along than I started out. They would just be able to instantly learn stuff. As soon as I showed them something, they could do it well. And that was not the case for me or most people. But those people would rely so much on that they wouldn't be in shape. They just wouldn't want to do the extra work to be, have better cardio when it mattered or when they got pushed. So there were people that they were super strong and athletic, and they were so good in the beginning, and they never got past the plateau. And then there were other people that, I would have thought were never going to be able to have an actual MMA fight. Just so bad at learning. But they kept showing up, and a lot of those guys ended up having, 5 or 6 MMA fights, doing really well. And it even though the same thing keeps repeating, it never stops surprising me. How much anyone can do anything if they actually try and devote their time and effort to it. They have to be coachable. They have to listen to me. It is amazing. There's so many people that will come in and just do nothing that I said. I'd be yelling at them what to do when they're sparring or fighting, and they would not listen to me at all. And
isn't that crazy? That racks my brain. They're like, why are you here? Why are you coming here asking to be coached if you don't want to listen to anything that we're telling you to do?
It makes no sense. They're paying me money, showing up to learn from me, and they're refusing to do what I'm telling them. And as a result, they're losing. So
and you're such a freaking Neanderthal. My dude throws his wife in the cage. You know what I mean? My dude throws Robin out there, and Robin went on a 3-1 streak. My dude throws his wife out there. He don't care.
Oh man, I didn't want nothing to do with that. But what happened was, my wife, when I met her, didn't even train at all. And like everyone else, she's tried jiu-jitsu and started doing kickboxing and enjoyed it for the workout and met a lot of good people. And it came a point where I'm like, you should compete. You're really good, and you need to believe that and roll with people that you don't know. And she went to a jiu-jitsu tournament and, smashed and did really well, of course, and got some confidence. And, she had never got to see me fight. I was kind of done fighting when I met her. And she kept saying she wanted me to do another MMA fight. So I decided I was going to do one more just so that she could be there, essentially. So I trained for 2 months and got put on the main event at this card.
Is that the one where you were hurt? Is that the one where your hip was messed up?
Yeah. Yeah, I dislocated my hip 5 days before my fight. I couldn't even lift my leg. But I refused to not do it anyway, which was really stupid. And I would never recommend anyone else do that. But I just felt like the guy was so bad. I was sure I could beat him, even in my weakened state, if I could just get past the doctors and the medical stuff of them clearing me to fight. So, I went out there and I had a really hard fight with the guy, mostly because I was not 100%. But I did get the win in the 3rd round, choked him out. And, after that, Robin wanted to fight, and thankfully I had a lot of other fighters around the gym that liked working with her and were going to kind of help with that, because I certainly didn't want to have to be the one trying to get her ready and yell at her and go home and be nice to her, so
I tried that out before. I tried to be Natalie, my wife, Nat. I tried to be her personal trainer in the gym. And, I can't even imagine training her for a fight. We were fighting. We'd have been fighting before the fight. We were fighting in the gym.
Yeah, so
she'd listen to anybody but me.
It's exactly what happened.
She listened
like,
to Perm work her out before she listened to me work her out.
I know. Robin's the same way. She's still that way. She's still just somehow she just doesn't want to listen to me. So thankfully other people took her under her wing, and I just played the role of her cheerleader and, tried to make her do what she wanted. And she fought 4 times. Thankfully, she doesn't want to do it anymore. She trains still, but that was a lot of stress for me that I just don't need in my life. I'm perfectly happy to not have my wife ever be in another fight.
Right.
So,
I don't want to bring up bad, bad memories, man. If you don't feel
nah.
like talking about what I'm going to bring up next, just we'll pass. But I think you can help people with this, man. We've had conversations in the past about, your mom passing away. And, I see the pictures of you guys. And that's one of the biggest fears of my life. And I can't even imagine what that moment was like for you.
Well,
Can you tell
I
me a little
remember
bit
it
about
pretty specifically.
how old were you?
Yeah.
What happened? I know it
Yeah.
came on
So,
quickly, but how did you deal with that? Because I know, people, you could help a lot of people out there because I've watched you. I'm sure you never really move on. You just kind of find a way to move forward. But I've
well,
watched you find a way.
so for me, prior to my mom passing, I hadn't really dealt with anything that I thought I could handle. Like, because of jiu-jitsu and how brutal it was to learn for me, I pretty much had overcome so much consistently for so long. I was just used to that. And I was just already on my grind with, teaching and competing and training fighters, and I was doing my thing. And I was flying out and visiting my mom about 5 or 6 times a year in Tennessee. And we would go out there and go to MMA fights together. I had a connection up there at a gym, and, she was really big in my life. And I went up there, one time, and she had a little bit of a cough. And she said she'd go to the doctor, when our trip was up. So I went back home. She went to the doctor. They said she had lung cancer all through her chest, like super bad, and she had like a month to live. And that was brutal for me to hear because I didn't understand how she could be essentially what I thought was fine. And then you have a month to live, and there's nothing we can do about it. She wasn't that old. She was walking every day. She seemed healthy. I mean, she used to smoke back in the day, but she hadn't smoked in years. And, that was kind of tough. And so we ended up moving her down here with my aunt for that final month. And she deteriorated super quickly. It was super bad, super hard to watch. And I remember I was actually at the gym teaching a private lesson when I got the phone call, that she had passed. And, there's just nothing you can do. There's nothing that's going to make that better. So I tried to just, make sure that I continued to put my focus on the person in front of me at that moment who I was working with, and then just one thing at a time. The next class, I thought about her when I was by myself, but when I was doing something else, I wasn't trying to let outside things kind of affect. I didn't want to be a big depressed boozle for everyone else to have to deal with. I felt like it's a natural part of life. I knew she was going to die. I obviously hope it's not at any point that you're never ready. But, what could I do? I couldn't do anything about it. So I did the best I could. My other family was very supportive, and they were, super sad as well. But, I don't know. I didn't let it. It didn't faze me as much as I would have expected it to. I mean, it hurts when I think about it, but for the most part, you should be looking forward, not backwards, no matter what is behind you. If something as brutal as your mom passing, that's bad, but, no matter what it is, it's behind you. What are you doing tomorrow? You got to try and make the best of your life and impact the most people you can. And for me, that's what helped. It was focusing on other people that needed it. And, when people are grateful around you for your help, it makes you want to keep giving it. And that to me was where my focus went. And I poured almost more into all my guys when that happened. If that makes any sense.
Yep. So you focus that energy on, what you could control versus what you could not control. Focused it on positivity and keeping yourself busy, it sounds like. And
Yeah.
we're encouraged by pouring into other people and putting your focus on other people and on things that you could control and not wanting to bring those people down and excited about pouring into other people and just found a way to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I just had to. I was always telling myself that, for years before that, when people would have their problems that came up. Usually it would be something like an injury, can't train for 6 months. What am I supposed to do? you can't do anything about that. You know, you can't. Whatever has already happened has happened. All you can do is, you know, you should be planning for the future. You should be living each day, you know, and looking forward. And, you know, as bad as things are going to happen. Everyone's going to go through that. Hopefully everybody has their parents die at some point, because the alternative is your son died or your daughter died. And that's much worse.
Right.
You know, so it's part of the game.
We got about another 10 minutes left. I think the last two things I would say is one, speaking of death, maybe you could tell the story in 5 minutes or less of we could tell it together on when you tried to kill me. When you remember when you tried to kill me, and I don't know how I trusted in you and let you set me up like that, and but then I think maybe we could end off on some tips for people that are starting their journey in martial arts or in jiu-jitsu, and maybe a couple things that stand out on how they could progress quicker.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that. So why don't you go ahead and tell them how you tried to kill me, Bam?
Yeah. Let me take it away with that awesome experience I forced you to have against your will. Yeah. So I've been a big fan of snowboarding for the last few years, and I was trying to get my dog Simon, you know, to come with me. And it's not his cup of tea. He didn't really want to be on a giant mountain in snow on a board, but he did it for me. And we went out there, and yeah, so just a little bit of me trying to haze him and a little bit of him making a wrong turn, but he ended up on a double black diamond on his very first step on the mountain.
So for the people that don't know, like I didn't know, you know, the colors, I was passing colors. I remember green and blue and you know, I figured when I got to black, you know, black usually symbolizes like either really good or really bad. And that when I saw double black things, and how high we were, and I realized, you know, we were riding up on this incline thing, and there was no way like back to lift. Once I was off, I was like, there was only one way down for me, and at that point I realized that, you know, I had got bamboozled. And you ever see somebody trying to, you know, talk somebody out of not jumping, you know, like don't jump, don't. He was trying to talk me into killing myself. I feel like, come on, Simon, you're going to be fine. And I'm just falling down this mountain like 5 feet at a time.
You were not moving.
Yeah, just like stuck on the side of the cliff. And
and those of you that, you know, I know you can't picture it if you weren't there, but to set the scene for you, he really was on like the steepest, most brutal run that they had at Park City, right up to a cliff, where if you don't turn right, you're going off the cliff. He really made a rough turn at the top and just got stuck in the worst possible spot, and it was rough going down for him. But he did make it, as you may have noted. He's alive and well.
Why would you do something like that to me? You know what I mean? What? I'll get you back, too. I can't wait. I'm saving up for the right time and the right thing. But basically, I fell 3 hours down this mountain. He would continue to lap me and come by and check and make sure I was alive, you know, every half hour.
Me and the other kids.
And so the next day, we just decided it was best for me to take a class. So I took a class. And the good news is by the end of the class, I was able to function and actually ride down the hill and have a good time and not really fall that much.
I'm going to be honest with you. I way overestimated my ability to teach someone how to snowboard at that time. The class was a great idea. We probably should have done that first.
And so I'm in the class, and the good news is I learned. The bad news was it was very humbling because there was all these little kids, and not that I'm a tall man by any means, but I mean all these kids that are way smaller than me. And I'm falling, and they're asking me, you know, I remember being down and looking
okay,
up,
sir?
and there's an 8-year-old like, are you okay, sir? I mean, that was like the epitome of that was the tip of the iceberg for me for humility, where I'm sitting there thinking like, why did I do this to myself? What was I thinking? How did I let this man talk me into this? But we ended up having a good time. I remember stretching, you know, for an hour like I got ran over. The next morning, I popped a couple of leave and stretched out. And,
You were killing it though. After
and
you
had a
learned,
ball.
we did great together.
We killed it.
Yeah.
We killed it the last day. Unbelievable. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. We're still here. I owe you one. Stay tuned. I'll think of something creative.
I have no doubt for sure.
Why don't you drop maybe three to five tips for somebody out there that I think all of this will mirror life, but maybe
Sure.
somebody on their journey in jiu-jitsu or martial arts, how they could expedite it and basically reach their best.
So there's a few things I'll go over for that, but probably the most important is for you to think about what you're looking to get out of your training sessions. Okay. A lot of times people get focused on the short term. So they'll be rolling on a Tuesday and their only concern on Tuesday is how many taps they got on Tuesday or how many times they get caught by the higher belts.
So
and that's usually not relevant.
So for somebody that doesn't really, maybe they're just listening, they don't really know it. So rolling means grappling, doing jiu-jitsu on the ground.
Yeah, doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, trying to get a submission, people get focused on the short term and not the long term. The way to get better is to make sure you're training in a way that allows you to be much better, in 6 months, not the same person in 6 months that's no better, So for me, it's more about being okay with losing right now, as long as you're getting the practice and the reps and you're getting a little bit better each time, so that down the road you're going to be a beast.
Love it.
Because
so
there's
focusing
no
on the
to that.
on the technique and just the process right now, which will make you better. Thinking about how can this make me better 6 months from today, versus just winning in the moment. I know that was something hard for me, and it still is hard for me. For me to just focus on, not using all my energy and strength in relaxing, and maybe by being more relaxed, and I'll grow more and be in some positions I ultimately wouldn't be in or allow myself in if I was using all my energy and all my strength, therefore forcing yourself to grow. So you would say just
that brings me to
the first one was just thinking long term and doing the things in the moment that'll make you better 6 months from today.
Yeah, don't worry about the short-term growth. Worry about the long-term success. I would say would be the first thing.
Love it.
Second thing, it's got to be relax. You have to be able to think through what's happening in the moment. You can't do that holding your breath, being super tense. So you need to make sure you have your head about you. It's easy to get tunnel visioned or super focused on something and miss everything around you. It's also way more likely you'll get injured if you're super tense. So relaxing and remembering that your mind is your best weapon when you're training or doing anything is probably my next thing. And you're going to need to be told that a bunch of times. I mean, I used to make all my passwords the word relax in some form or another for years because people were always telling me to relax. And I wanted it to be beat into my head. So I made sure I had to type it on a daily basis.
I might need to change my passwords.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that was what I had to do because I just could not help. I could feel I was tense. People were telling me to relax. I'm like, I hear you, but I just forget 1 second later. But it did eventually
It's not easy
click.
to do when somebody else is trying to kill you. You know what I mean?
No,
but,
it's
but
not.
I've gotten it. Remember I was telling you at the you saw it the last time I was here when I ripped my bicep off. You were here. Just not only did he try to kill me on the thing, but you were here when I blew my bicep out 5 weeks ago. But I'm sure you could tell the difference then versus, a year ago when I was just kind of getting started with the, or a couple years ago with the boxing a little bit and how tense and tired I would get to being more relaxed.
People, I think, in anything tend to be more tense and nervous in the beginning when it's new. But once you're able to relax, there's always a better flow. Everything goes better for you, and for me, like now, I'm very relaxed when I do anything, and it's hard for a lot of people to think that I ever wasn't that way. But I assure you, I was exact opposite of how I am now back then. It's learned behavior, and it's just changed from practice.
And what was the third thing?
So third thing, I would say for jiu-jitsu especially, you need to have a good trained partner. Jiu-jitsu is one of the rare things that you can't really practice by yourself. So and you know, kickboxing, any combat sport's kind of that way. You need a good partner. You know, you need to make sure that your partner selection in class is helpful to both of you. You know, you can't get better when you got always a brand new partner or always someone twice your size or half your size. So for me, I was kind of like the middle size of everybody in class all the time. So I had usually a pretty good selection of partners, but I can tell you it would have been a lot harder for me to get better at anything if every time I rolled I picked Marcus Jones as my partner, who was this gigantic football player that was training with us.
Like when
you know,
you got
you
me
gotta
rolling
have,
with Torrance's big ass over there.
Yeah.
Tell my man
Yeah.
T I said
That's
what's
clearly,
up.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah, I mean, you got to have the right partners. So for me and for everyone, I really think that it's important for you not just to focus on, you know, who you're training with, but, you know, or how you're training, but who you're training with. You know, and as far as in life and in business, that can kind of equate to making sure you have good people around you, not bad people around you. Because if you got the wrong people around you, you're not going to be able to do well. You know, you got to have the same like-minded squad around you all the time.
Truth, man. Truth. Well, I just want to thank you for being a guest on the Grindcast, and thank you for not only what you do for me, but for so many other people, man. I've been a witness to how selfless that you are to people in giving of your time, you know, being in positions where you give so much of yourself that at points you're taken advantage of, or, you know, people will kind of not always give back the amount of loyalty that you've given out, but it doesn't change you. Your heart stays the same. You don't walk like you're as good. I know people in the world, in the martial arts world, that walk like they're a whole lot better than they are. You know, when I train with them, I'm like, damn, bro, I thought you were gonna be a killer by the way you carry yourself. And then, you know, and you exemplify the word humility, man. You're such a beast, and you never walk like you are. You don't act like you are. Nobody would ever know. And I love that about you, man. The way that you treat random people, just like your friend. You know, what's the lady I just met when I was out there? The one that moved from Seattle.
Oh yeah, Jen.
Jen.
Yeah,
who was
yeah,
super
Jen,
cool.
she's doing good.
He just, you know, just meets her and you know, is friends with him and his wife, and just, you know, helps her out and takes her in, and they become good friends. I mean, it's just the way you treat people all over the place at every walk of life, no matter where they're at in their life, is something that I admire about you, man, and your loyalty and commitment to the people around you, brother. So keep being you.
Appreciate it, man.
Keep being you, no
Sure.
matter what, man. And I'll see you soon.
All right, homie.
Thanks
for
man.
having me.
All right,
See you
brother.
guys.
Peace.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Trying told him I'm a beast, bud.